I caught a kitty mitten. Maybe you can see the triangle ears. Anyway, I thought I owed you a reading from yesterday that I could not find, so I had to paraphrase, and I cannot string together the words like infinite consciousness can, but there's a reason that I'm reading this. And it says, blessed or blessed are those that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Then it says, rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Now, it's reported that Jesus said this, like 2,000 years ago. And again, I don't consider myself conventionally religious. What I consider the words of Jesus to be, I consider that to be infinite, cosmic, Christ, God consciousness talking to mortal consciousness. That's how I perceive it. And everybody gets a perception of their own perception, and that's wonderful. So take that with what, take it as you will. But when it says rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward when you're being persecuted. And then it says, so were the prophets which were before you. So essentially what's being said here, as I unpack it, is everyone, all the prophets, sages, saints and holy ones who've ever ascended to higher and higher states of consciousness, which is the destiny of all of us, not just the prophets and the sages, because we're sages and saints in embryo, so to speak. So it says that if we're persecuted, then we're going through the process that every single soul goes through on its way toward higher consciousness. It's sort of a developmental stage. If you take psychology courses in college, or if you teach them, you teach various psychological stages, and we might say there are spiritual stages as well, and the persecution stage. Now, what's interesting about that is it seems to talk about external persecutions, and yesterday I spoke, the real key to understanding it is the persecutions are probably not external. They're probably far more dynamically internal. Because honestly, in my life, when I walk down the street, I'm not persecuted. I don't have a lot of people reviling me and spitting on me or saying bad things about me, generally speaking. In other words, it's not that scene from Game of Thrones where I'm walking naked through the street with people throwing excrement on me, saying shame, shame. But there's something inside of me that can do that to me. Mercifully, not all the time, but there is a part of my mind that will connect to that reviling, persecuting, self-loathing, self-critical, unworthy, undeserving. And when that activates and certain things will trigger it, then the persecution is internal, and it's way worse than anything I ever get on the outside. It's almost inconceivable. I would never allow anyone to be in my life to say the things about me that I say to myself inside of my head. And it's a wacky dynamic, and a lot of smart, intelligent, sensitive people that I talk to are also, to some degree, a large or a small degree, infected with this internal persecution. But rejoice and be exceeding glad, because this battle between the higher self and the lower self, it must be fought out. And just to simply remember that when we're feeling these persecutions, these slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, of internal persecution, when we're throwing excrement and saying shame and guilt upon ourselves, things that no external person would ever say, that we are in a condition of being blessed and that we are advancing, as long as we remember that it is a progression, it's an evolution, and that we shall indeed learn to rise above and to ride it out. And that in our awareness that the persecution moves from the external and then becomes an internal persecution. And then we face that with the best of our spiritual wisdom, intellect, prayer, practice, meditation, service to others and all the tools in our toolkit that we can turn to when we're going through the internal persecutions, we are then blessed. We're great is our reward in heaven, and we will also ascend to the level of the prophets, mystics, and saints that have gone through that developmental stage. So rejoice, and we'll talk about it more during the week. And hopefully today you're not being reviled by an internal voice, but should that show up even in a mild way and say something or think something negative about yourself, simply look at it and smile and say, thank you, I'm being lifted above you. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.